Today's episode is about National Daughters Day, and I have the wonderful pleasure of having all of the daughters that are like the closest to me in my life right here on the episode. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce them. I'm going to start with the oldest and work our way down to the youngest. So the oldest of the trio would be the beautiful Tiffany. Hello, Tiffany. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. For
Hey.
having me.
And next in line would be her daughter, the beautiful Aliyanna. Hello, Aliyanna. How are you?
Hi.
And then next in line is the youngest in the crew, young Brielle. Hello, Miss Brielle. How are you?
I'm great.
Good to hear. Now, before I introduce the fourth person in the group, let me say that Tiffany and Brielle are our oldest and youngest daughters. And then Aliana is Tiffany's daughter. And the man that pulls it all together, I have him here as well. Papri, Daddy, Granddad, all the different names combined. I should roll it all up into one cute little like Brangelina. Let's say uh Preppy Daddy, Granddaddy. I don't know, but Winston. Hey there, hun.
All of
How are you?
I'm well, dear. I am magnificent as always, and all of those names work. You can call me what you want. Just call me.
Aw. Ladies, you hear that? He's trying to send out a message. He wants you to call him. All right. So, and I can't leave myself out. I'm a daughter as well. My father is not here. However, I call my husband daddy, so I'm going to count myself as one of the daughters as well. So
Let's do
I'm
it.
added to the list today. When I'm going to start with you. What like went through your mind when you found out that Tiffany was going to be a girl? Like, was that how what type of experience was that for you?
So that experience was interesting because I'm like, oh, that is so cool. I can't wait till she's 30 and get started dating. No? Okay. So
Gotta be right.
And then something happened
um
along the way because she's not
yeah,
quite there
yeah.
yet.
So it was like, oh wow, a girl? Like, okay, this is gonna be different. Got it. So what do I know about girls? I don't know anything about girls. So all right, time to learn some stuff, time to figure out how to do hair and how to shop for clothes. And of course the other side of that was I'm like, oh boy, you wait till she runs track. She is gonna be the fastest thing out there. So, but it was more so just kind of trying to comprehend what I could do to make her experience a wonderful experience.
Awesome. So now Tiffany, he mentioned a few things that he had to learn how to do. On a scale from 1 to 10, how did he do on those things? Hairstyling and all those cool things that girls need to know.
I'm trying to think of just one time where he did my hair. I'm sorry, but I can't recall. But
Oh,
shopping is great. It's a great job with that.
great job with shopping.
Yeah,
Okay, okay.
that.
Now, as a mom, I know when I found out that Brielle was going to be a girl, I actually thought she was going to be a boy. So when we did that gender reveal and the pink balloon came out of the box, I'm like, oh my gosh. I actually went into a panic mode and started watching YouTube like sun up to sundown because I felt like although I'm a girl, I didn't know enough girly things. So I was trying to figure that out. Like, by the time she gets here, I need to know. I need to know and understand this. And so, Tiffany, you and I have had multiple conversations, especially when you were in school and at college, when you were en route to and from, and it just be like all these different girl conversations because you had Aliyanna, I had Brielle, and it's just kind of like, so how's it going for you? What do you have going on?
Right. Right.
Having said that, talking about the littles, Aliyanna, you and your mom, for this particular time period right now, are lucky to be the only girls, right?
As far as we know, that's
As
correct.
far as you know. So, what is that like for you to have a brother?
Hard. Sometimes annoying, but fun to play with.
There is silver lining in the cloud. Sometimes he can be fun to play with. But so now, do you think if he was a sister, then things would be different?
Maybe.
What would be different?
I would buy the baby clothes.
Oh.
You would get it dressed?
Yeah. I'd do its hair.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, Tiffani, your situation is a little bit different. So Aliyanna has her little brother there in-house, and she gets to deal with him every day, all day. Yeah. And so her situation is a little bit different from yours because you didn't have to actually deal with your brother all the time. But what's that relationship like for you?
So as a kid, with, you mean me having a brother?
Yeah.
Yeah. So as a kid, Tristan just felt so much older than me. You know, we're 6 years apart. So I remember like very specific time points where I would be like, can I come? Can I do that? And he's like, no, because I'm 6 and I'm probably obnoxious, and he's 12 trying to go, you know, do things that he could do by himself. And at the same time, he was very tender. So I feel like we even have photos where, you know, I was a baby sitting on his lap while he looks around me to play the video game. So things like that where, you know, Tristan is quiet. He's very calm, and I don't really recall ever fighting. We typically get together and think about all the things we have in common, like taking long showers or just things like that. We're very similar. So we tend to just like, well, oh my gosh, you do that too. Or, you know, wow, we think the same. Yeah. So now as we're older, we talk a lot more and connect and kind of just try to keep that constant flow going where we talk at least once a week.
Have you guys ever had a disagreement?
No. but to my knowledge, if we did, it would have been simple things like, you know, I'm hot when we took like a road trip or something, and he would maybe be cold. I don't know. But I can't ever think of anything we disagreed on. Now, there were things he would do that I didn't think was very fair, but in my defense, I'm also experiencing that from my dad, who likes to play jokes and pranks. So between the two of them pranking me, between the two of them, I really had to learn how to just, you know, laugh a little. I don't think it was ever too severe.
So now, Tiffani, you mentioned similarities. So I would like to know, I'm going to start with Brielle on this one. Brielle, how are you like your dad?
I like some of the things he likes by liking some of the same TV shows, and I can't think of anything else. Well, I'm liking the same games.
Same games? Okay, so now, Dad, I'm going to ask you, how do you think that you and the youngest are alike? Your daughter, your youngest.
I think we're a lot alike in our sense of humor, and our ability to have quick quips and puns. I think there might be commercials or shows or some sayings in which case you kind of turn around and make that quick connection, and it's like, I see what you did there, and kind of chuckle about that. So just liking to laugh, wanting people to have a good time, wanting to ensure that others are served in that regard. I think that's along those lines.
Okay, so now I'm going to skip to the oldest daughter. How do you think that you and your dad are alike?
Oh, those ways we are. I would say we have quite the same scenario of, just the way that we think, our humor, and the way like we look at the world, maybe our worldview in certain ways is very similar. But, you know, we just have a very common understanding of like what we like to even eat. In some cases, except for pineapples on pizza, we have a very disagreement with that. But just about everything else, I always have been more adventurous with food, and I would like to assume that's from my father, just because my mother was not a very like, hey, let's try this squid eye. Not that I've ever eaten that, but in the sense, my dad would probably say, well, you got to try it at least once, or maybe he's had it before or something like that. um yeah, because I don't really love roller coasters, and I also feel like he's more of like a thrill and adventure sinker, and I'm a little less of that. So it's probably more just like our core personality.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask you, Dad, for this daughter as well, how do you see your similarities?
So it is quite candid, just a very reasonable approach to most things. I mean, no one can be reasonable about everything, but ideally, that's the goal. It's like, does that make sense, right? And so, I've always, seen that she's had a keen logic, one that I understand that makes sense, and then just the ability to want better for others. I think she's a uniter. She likes bringing family together, and again wants people to have a good time. So I think that she also, if it comes down to it, she probably would not want to um, mince words. But I think when it comes down to it, if asked her opinion, I think she would not have any problems letting people know. I think the other side of that though is that for her, I believe she doesn't necessarily want to hurt people's feelings. And I don't want to hurt people's feelings either, but I more so want them to know, I guess, the truth as opposed to just kind of like, well, so
I have more.
playing around those phrases. But she also has a quick wit and 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 a good sense of humor. So, actually, one more thing for both of them, they both have the ability to recollect unique things. And I remember my mom talking to me about that, that it might be something as a kid that I remember. And I'd be like, hey, mom, do you remember when? And it's like some detail that she has no idea about. And of course, the two of them are like that. That they'll be like, oh, Daddy, remember that time when? And it's like a lot of times I remember, other times I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So I'll offer that for now.
Okay, so now Aliyanna, I've got a two-part question for you. How are you like your dad, and how are you like your granddad?
Um, uh, start with one. Who are you talking about?
My dad.
Okay.
I guess style. Style is one. Sometimes I love watching scary movies.
Oh.
And then how like my granddad, or like, I'm not really like him.
Oh, but you are. You just don't realize it. I bet if I ask him, he'll be able to say.
Track is one. I love. Does granddad like doing sports?
Mm-hmm.
Sports.
Like every sport in the whole entire world.
Can't think of anything else though.
Dancing.
Oh, all right now.
I forgot that one for me.
All right, so last one then, Dad, or excuse me, Granddad. How are you and your granddaughter like?
So, I would definitely go right to athleticism. I think, when I watch her play basketball, I watch her play flag football, and then seeing her on the track. So, track and football were comparable. Basketball, this girl is head and shoulders above me. She was just fearless on the court. And I'm like, ooh, if I had an ounce of that, I'd be in the NBA right now.
Oh my gosh.
But, so just watching her level of competition and seemingly enjoying every moment, relishing the challenges and whatnot. And so I think that's pretty key, especially when you have sports that are generally male dominated. You have sports that generally people are a certain height or whatever. So her physical stature, she doesn't let get in the way of what she does on the track, on the football field, on the basketball court. And I'm very much so impressed by that.
You left out soccer. I know we saw some soccer in there somewhere too.
Yeah, well, so that just goes to show that I was rusty on soccer. I didn't come to soccer till late, so but yeah, definitely, yeah. And that's just the other part about it too. That I personally think that she puts her mind to it, she could do it. So
awesome. I know when you didn't necessarily grow up with any sisters, so I can imagine having daughters and going through the whole process of, from infant to toddler, school age, preteen, teen years, and so forth. That was probably a little bit different for you to have to help a daughter navigate through because you didn't have any real consistent contact with that throughout. So was that a thing for you, or did you just kind of glide through it?
well, so although there weren't biological sisters, I got two. Grew up in that time period, becoming aware of two half sisters at the age of 10, but not really reacquainting with them until age 25. But what I did have was I had Miriam, I had Shonda, who are cousins that were like sisters. So in that grow up time period, then they were effectively my sisters, as we all went and did just about everything together. What I'll tell you is that when you become of age and you're aware that you're having these daughters and whatnot, and you just reflect on your own journey through being a little boy and young man and what that's about, it was really cool that I actually had eight aunts, my grandmother, my grand aunt Juanita, my grandmother's friend Miss Annie. Like, so I had a lot of female role models, so it was real easy to kind of see what those ladies represented and how they were. So at that point, it was not so much a challenge, but just more of that quest to make sure that Tiffany had that foundation of what it takes to be a lady and to not, deal with and tolerate any nonsense. Aside from that, seeing society and some of the things we've talked about today, where they'll say, "Oh, we're working on closing the gap in pay, equity between men and women," and that just doesn't work for me, right? Because that means one, you're working on it. Two, you're trying to close a gap that you recognize instead of eliminating the gap. So why do we have to do that, right? If you look at a military type system, pay scale, your pay grade, man or woman, this is what you get, right? So I don't understand why in society, and me being a girl dad, that my daughters, my wife, don't just automatically get equal pay. That we have to work on closing the gap. Like that just doesn't work for me. In addition to that, right, knowing how I treated people coming up, that ultimately what you want is to be treated fair. Tiffani, Aliyanna, Brielle, what you guys don't know, and Yvette has known for some time, when I got to the point to where I was getting ready to ask for Yvette's dad's blessing to marry her, we had a great conversation, talked about a lot of things, and then what he did was just we sat next to each other, and he had his thoughts and ideas, and he told me what he thought of me. But when it came down to it, he said, "Hey, whatever happens, if things don't go well or whatever case, the only thing I ask is don't lay hands on my daughter," right? And so that was something that I knew I would never do, but the fact that it was important for him to articulate that was key because that's ultimately, as a father, that's what we want. We want the best for you guys, right? We want nothing but the best and everything to be great. But then when it comes down to it, it's like whoever you choose is going to be your choice. And because I love you, I'm going to work on, caring for them and loving them. But when it comes down to it, just don't put your hands on my child. Walk away, go away, whatever you need to do. And that's ultimately what I carry with me when I'm always, when I'm away from them is, are they safe? Are they going to be okay? And have that mindset.
Daughters, do you have anything you want to ask? Aliyanna, is there anything you want to ask your mom or you want to ask Brielle as a daughter that's around the same age as you, or Brielle, same thing? No? What's up with the eyebrows, Brie?
Nothing. Nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing at all.
Okay. Got it. Anything for you, Tiffani?
So you said that I have my question is for you. You said that you thought you were gonna have a boy and then found out it was a girl. So what was the feeling like? What made you think that?
What made me think that I was gonna have a boy?
Mm-hmm.
I had hair on my chin. That's what I thought it was extra testosterone in my body.
Oh no.
I was growing a beard undoubtedly, and I'm like, I don't understand what's happening. This must be a boy that I'm carrying. And so when it was a girl, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't understand what's happening.
My in-laws, they are very strong, like wives' tales believers and sayers, and I feel like they have always said like when you're having a girl, they're taking your beauty. So that's when you get really ugly or something crazy starts happening. So
Well, that is what happened. She
yeah.
she did a number on me because it was awful.
It's weird. I feel like I'm having a girl, but I don't want to say that like so strongly. I don't know. But we'll see.
So we might be celebrating National Daughters Day next year with an extra daughter added to the roster.
Yes, yes.
Awesome. All right. Well, if nobody else has anything else they want to add. Oh, Brielle, yes.
So, this one is for Daddy. So, Daddy, you mentioned those aunts, friends, and stuff like that.
My aunts and my cousins.
Okay, aunts, cousins. Did you mention anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay.
I said my grandmother's friends.
Okay, and grandmother's friends. I think you have a nice and proud, exciting family.
Thank you. I think so as well. I appreciate that.
I guess I do have one question, and it's gonna sound kind of crazy. But Tiffani, did you find it difficult being a daughter? And I guess I'll answer it for myself first. I found it difficult being my dad's daughter and my mom's daughter, I guess, in a sense, because they had certain ways that they did things. And so the role of a daughter in their household to me was difficult, even though I didn't have it the same way that my sister did. You know, she would come by the house and make it known that I was not having as hard a time being a daughter as she had, as far as the different chores and things to have to do along the way. But I did. So one of the other things, being a daughter, my dad was very adamant that we weren't going to, how do you say, like when we finished school, we could come back home and we could stay there as long as we needed to, because when we left there, we were going to be buying our own place. He was like not interested in us renting. So just get that thought out of your mind. And so that was difficult for me because I wanted to like be my own person. I wanted to be on my own and go do, see. And it was kind of like, no. And because of my temperament, I guess, I went along with it. Like, because of course I didn't have to. I could have been like, no, dog it, I'm not going to stay here. You can't make me. And, run off. But then it's like, what happens when I need them? I got to be able to come back. So for me, it was kind of difficult being a daughter. I felt like my brother had things different. And maybe it might not even be a thing for you because you didn't necessarily get to see the other side of that. But I didn't see a lot of the other side of that either because my brother is so much older than me. But it was obvious that because I was a daughter, there were certain things that were expected of me.
I would say that I didn't feel that way only because of, like you said, being an only child from my mom, there was really no comparison. It was just what it was. There was other challenges, that I guess don't really relate to being the daughter, but, other things that could be like, oh man, this makes it a lot trickier in my family. And then on my dad's side, he kind of treated me and Tristan fairly equal, but I would say I got off a little bit easier most of the time. Tristan was more like, had to be the tough macho, like, yeah, get it together, you're a man. And I was like, yeah, daddy's little girl. So, if I was crying about something, it probably was okay to cry about it, and he would reassure me of that and didn't make me feel like, emotions weren't a thing or things like that. So I would say, generally speaking, we were either treated equal or I had it a little easier.
So I got a question. So as a dad, the dads always want to provide. Sit up, please. Always want to provide and take care of things. What do daughters need from their dads? So that's for all four of you. What do you need from your dad?
Attention. Attention.
Attention.
Yeah.
Amen.
Good, because
All
what?
right, so Aliyanna says attention.
Well, hold on. She was going to say some more.
Okay,
I
I'm
say
sorry.
and because my brother always gets attention because I guess he's a boy. And yeah.
I'd say love. More love, lots of love, thousands of love. So much love.
Well, I feel like we're all given like a word, so that's what's making this challenging. But
You don't have
like you are an example. So if nothing else, you're showing a very huge part of the world to us. As a daughter, you are showing what a friend can be in a man and what, you know, a leader can be, what a just, you know, the whole like companionship, but also a father for our children, or a mate, or, you know, and partner, or, you know, just anything. It's showing us how half of the world or half of the population may think as a man and do as a man and what should be expected. So that example, I would say, in addition to attention and love, is really important.
So I have to piggyback on what everybody said, because I agree. Definitely attention, and I'm kind of going like past tense. I needed attention. I needed words of affirmation, and maybe because that's one of my love languages, I needed my dad to tell me that I was pretty, you know, that I'm smart. I needed my dad to say all of those things. My mom could say that all day till the cows came home, and it'd be like, yeah, you got to say that. You're my mom. But I need daddy to say it, because then it was almost like a validation that I needed to be able to then move around through, you know, various situations and whatnot out in the real world with males, to be able to not cling to what their thought was or what their opinion was. Contrary to popular belief, I was like not the popular girl, so I did not get a whole lot of kind words from guys. So it's like the fact that I was getting that, I was being fed that at home, then it was like I didn't need it out and about. So it was good. It was definitely needed. Um, Definitely role model, to be able to show kind of like what I should be looking for, you know, not that bad boy type persona. Like everybody wants a bad boy. Like, no, I want a guy like my daddy. And I think I found one. And I think so.
You think so?
I'm pretty sure I did. But yeah, so it was a lot. And so I kind of like how you'll hear people say that boys need their fathers in their life. And it's like, yeah, that's true, but daughters need them too, because there's a lot that a girl could benefit from for having her dad in her life.
For instance, their sense of humor.
All right. So last chance, everyone. Anybody have any last parting words before we close out this episode?
No.
Brielle, you got your hand up?
I think you're very smart, like your dad, kind, generous, probably like everyone else in your family.
Well, thank you very much for noticing. I appreciate that. All right. Well, thank you, and thank you all for joining me on today's episode celebrating National Daughters Day. And for everybody and anybody out there listening or watching, take a moment to check in with your daughters, see how they're doing, maybe do something nice for them. Get them a present, maybe. Daughters like presents. I know I do. Um, or just ask them what is it that they want to do and take the time out. Go ahead and take that moment to snuggle with them if they're little, because they won't be little for long. Or whatever it is, pour into them so that they can then grow and flourish and just be great and that awesome reflection of yourself.